2022 delivered one of the craziest college football seasons we've seen in recent memory. From the first week all the way until the final game, there were numerous surprises. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the 10 most surprising teams from the 2022 college football season. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. I'm posting college football videos all off season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. We'll start with one of the biggest surprises in 2022, Tulane. They were one of the best teams in all of college football this past season, and nobody saw it coming. When I say nobody saw it coming, I truly mean it. They finished the year winning 12 games. It's their first season winning that many games since 1998. They hadn't even won 8 games in a season since 2002. It's also not like they were building momentum off their 2021 campaign, as they were one of the worst teams in all of college football the previous year, going 2-12. Entering the 2022 season, they were picked by the media to finish 7th in the American Conference. Well, they certainly surpassed expectations. The Green Wave had an impressive victory early in the season against Kansas State. Then, they closed their year with wins over top 25 opponents in Cincinnati and UCF. To cap off their historic season, Tulane took down USC in the Cotton Bowl. The game looked out of reach with a few minutes left, but they managed to pull off one of the more improbable comebacks we've seen in recent memory. Another team that you can make the case was the most surprising was TCU. After going 5-7 in 2021, they shocked the college football world and made it all the way to the championship game. Now, we won't talk about what happened in that contest, but it was still a crazy turnaround led by first-year coach Sonny Dykes. TCU was picked to finish 7th in the Big 12 by the media. Safe to say, they were way off. They began the season unranked, but thanks to a stretch of 4 consecutive victories over top 20 teams, they climbed all the way up to number 7 in the polls. Regardless of what happened in the national championship, it was still a successful season for TCU, and one of the more surprising ones we've seen in recent memory. I mean, they were 200-1 odds to win the title to begin the season. Teams like that simply don't go all the way in college football. We've never seen anything close to that, and I doubt we'll see anything similar to it anytime soon. It's been a while since we've seen Florida State finish a season with 10 wins. They went 10-3 in 2022, their best season since 2016. The Seminoles had only 14 wins over the previous 3 seasons combined. They were picked to finish 5th in their own division and 10th overall in the ACC. Their season was an interesting one, as you could break it up into 3 parts. They began the year 4-0 and climbed into the top 25. However, they proceeded to lose 3 consecutive games against ranked opponents, although they lost by an average of only 6 points, and 2 of those losses were within 6. Florida State then responded by winning their final 6 games of the season, winning nearly every game with ease. Not a lot was expected from Florida State this past season, but entering the 2023 campaign, they're likely going to be one of the top favorites to win the ACC. Kansas State was expected to be a decent team in 2022. They won 8 games the previous year and were picked to finish 5th in the Big 12. But I don't think many predicted they'd actually win the conference and have their first 10-win season in a decade. They were able to climb to as high as number 11 in the AP poll, the highest they'd been ranked since 2014. The Wildcats got hot at the right time, going 8-2 in the middle of the season with victories over number 6 Oklahoma and number 9 Oklahoma State. They finished their season on a 3-game winning streak and took down TCU in the Big 12 title game. They faced Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, where they got blown out, but it was still a very encouraging season for Kansas State. It seems pretty crazy to have a team on here that finished the season 6-7, but it was truly a surprising season from the Kansas Jayhawks. For a lot of teams, winning 6 games would probably be just an okay year, but for Kansas, it was something that hadn't happened in quite some time. It was the first time the Jayhawks won 6 games in a season since 2008. Seriously, it was 14 years without reaching the 6-win mark. Just over the previous 3 seasons combined, Kansas totaled only 5 wins. They actually won their first 5 contests and climbed as high as number 19 in the AP poll. It was the first time they were ranked since 2009. Now, we'll just forget about the second half of the season as they lost 7 of their final 8 games and looked like the Kansas we were all used to. Still, anytime you do something for the first time in nearly 15 years, it's worthy of being celebrated. Oregon State won 10 games for the first time since 2006. To make that number look even more impressive, the Beavers won a combined 10 games from 2017 through 2020. Oregon State emerged as one of the best teams in the Pac-12 this season, something we haven't been able to say in quite some time. Their ranking of number 16 in the AP poll was the highest they've been ranked in the last 10 years. The crazy thing is, Oregon State actually could have had an even better year. They lost by 3 points to USC earlier in the season and lost by 3 points to Washington later in the year. If just a few plays go their way, this is a team that wins either 11 or 12 games and has a chance of playing in the Pac-12 title. For the first time in a long time, Oregon State enters the 2023 campaign as a team with a legitimate chance of winning the conference. It was quite the year at Knoxville, as it was the best season for Tennessee in about 2 decades. Tennessee had double-digit wins for the first time since 2007 and won 11 games for the first time since 2001. They climbed as high as number 2 in the AP poll, the highest they've been ranked in 21 years. After winning only 10 games the previous 2 seasons combined, I don't think many were expecting Tennessee to be in the playoff hunt this late in the season. They started the season 8-0 and were one of the final remaining undefeated teams left. That stretch included some top 25 victories, including a win over number 3 Alabama. The Vols came back down to earth, losing 2 of their next 3 games, wiping them from the SEC title game contention and playoff contention. Still, they won their final 2 games, including a very impressive win over Clemson in the Orange Bowl. Quietly, Duke was actually one of the more surprising teams that nobody talked about or even realized. They won 9 games, their most in a season since 2014. It was only the 7th time in program history Duke won 9 games in a single season. The Blue Devils won only 5 games the previous 2 seasons and only 10 games over the previous 3 seasons combined. In the preseason polls, Duke was actually voted to finish dead last in their division and received the second fewest votes in the entire conference. The Blue Devils won 5 of their final 6 games to close out their campaign. Duke could have finished with a few more wins this season and actually could have made it to the ACC title game. 3 of their losses came by 3 or fewer points. Now, I'm not saying Duke is going to be in contention for the ACC next year, but they're definitely a team to keep an eye on moving forward. South Carolina had their first 8-win season since 2017, but what they did at the end of the season was just crazy, and that's why I have them on today's list. Through 10 weeks, they were 6-4, but they just had gotten blown out by Florida. Somehow, they followed that up by beating number 5 Tennessee and number 7 Clemson in back-to-back weeks. Based on how their season was prior to that point, winning both of those games the way they did made 0 sense. But they somehow surprised us all and pulled it off, helping them get to 8 wins for the first time in 5 years. Spencer Rattler will return in 2023, so maybe this is a Gamecocks team that can build off of this year and win 9 or maybe even 10 games next season. Our final team on today's list is Washington, who was picked to finish 6th in the Pac-12. Thanks to an insane tiebreaker, they were actually held out of the Pac-12 title game, with Utah getting the nod. The Huskies finished their campaign with 11 wins, tied with USC for the most in the entire Pac-12. For Washington, it was their best season since they made the playoffs all the way back in 2016. After winning only 4 games in 2021, the Huskies had one of the biggest turnarounds in all of college football this past year. They had a rough 2-game skid in which they lost to UCLA and somehow lost to Arizona State. But after that game, they went on a 7-game winning streak and were truly one of the hottest teams in all of college football. Well, those are the 10 teams who surprised me the most in 2022. Which team on today's list surprised you the most this past season? Or was there a team that didn't make my top 10 that should have been on here? Whoever it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, this is definitely the place for you. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm posting videos all off season, so make sure to subscribe if you call yourself a college football fan. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.